welcome back to For Teachers. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my university course, how I got into teaching. Hopefully if some of you are thinking about applying for a teaching course soon, I can give you some advice. The course that I studied was BA Honours Primary Education with QTS. There are lots of different directions you can take into teaching. That's the course that I chose to take. It was 3 years, all-inclusive, included my QTS, which is Qualified Teacher Status, and at the end of it, I was qualified to go straight into a primary school and work. Other ways that you can get into teaching include taking a degree first, then adding on your PGCE at the end, or there are other ways in, such as groups like Teach First, that allows you to work in schools while you learn the experience of how to teach. Would I recommend the course that I took? Yes, it was amazing. It was great to shoot me straight into the education system. I learned a lot on the course, but there were some drawbacks associated with the course that I took. Surprisingly, at first I was not accepted onto the course. This was down to the fact that although I had all the requirements qualification-wise, I didn't have enough experience of working in a primary school setting. This is so important. You need to know what it is that you're going into, and you need to know exactly what teaching is. Being a teacher is very different to being a student in school, and what you remember from primary school is very, very different once you're in charge of a class. Eventually, I managed to get the experience that I needed by working in my old primary school. Once I was accepted onto the course, I had to go down to Sheffield to have my interview. I had to go into a room full of lots of other people applying for the exact same course. I can't remember every detail from start to finish about the interview day. As you can imagine, it was a bit of a blur at the time, but I do remember having to do a group task which involved working with some other teachers. I had to do a short essay where I had to write in response to something I was given to do with education, probably about an A4 side of writing. It was difficult, but at the same time I was quite inspired on the day, so I found that lots of good ideas came out of me at the moment they needed to. Another part of that interview day was an interview with one other person. I sat with a woman and she asked me about why I wanted to be a teacher and what I expected to achieve while I was on the course. I didn't know what my odds or my chances were of getting into university on this particular course, but I did feel confident in how I presented myself on that day. Fast forward now, moving actually into university. When I got there, this video isn't talking about my experiences of university. That was very different. I'm talking more about my experiences of the actual course that I chose to take, the primary education course. So something that is very important to know about teaching is that when you apply for the course that I was on, you start a lot earlier than other courses, which, for example, means that while everyone else is enjoying Freshers Week, you might be at university, you might be expected to be in seminars. Lots of these you can't miss as well. With teaching, it's very important that you hit like a certain amount of these, your attendance is recorded. For example, if it's about child safeguarding, you can't miss that seminar, you need to know the facts. I still went out, I still partied, I still made lots of new friends. It was difficult because while everyone else might have had some time to settle into university, get to know the new city that they've moved into and make memories, I did have a lot of study to do straight away. With teaching, it can be very different. You have a lot of expectation, especially how I did my course, which was the 4 years into 3. It might also be important to know that when you apply for a teaching degree, your term is longer. When it got to summertime and a lot of my friends were ready for the holidays, they were flying abroad, finishing off their courses. Teaching, again, it overlaps both sides. So for my course, I started earlier and I finished later, and it was very, very full on throughout. Another thing that's worth noting about doing a teaching degree is that you have placements where you will go into schools and you will learn on the job. If I remember correctly, my first placement, I did a couple of lessons. I didn't do anything too long. I would do the start of a lesson, so some maths activities, or I would do like the middle part, some language games, so it was more of an introduction into the school setting. I went on a lot of placements. My university was really good for giving you lots of different types of experience. We were sent on courses to do with special educational needs, phonics, early language. Some of these placements I did by myself, some of them I was with a partner, sometimes I was working with a big group and we were all sent to the same school. Your experience will be completely different to mine depending on where you study. I didn't drive at university, which meant I was taking a lot of buses and trains, and depending on where you get placed, I think it can be up to, I think one of mine was about an hour and a half away. Sometimes you would be on placement. At the same time, you would be expected to write an assignment based on something you've learnt there, so that took up a lot of my time. Something else you might not know about the teaching degree is that you have to pass some tests in order to get your qualified teacher status. These tests are called Qts Tests. They can be notoriously difficult if you are not prepared, but once you learn the structure of the exam, it can be a little bit easier. Ryan and I have actually made a video all about the Qts tests, so if you would like to check that out, please click the link below, and we've explained what we remember about them and how to pass them. In my third year of my course at university, it was time to start looking for jobs. This was difficult because at the same time as looking for jobs, I was on my third and final full teaching block placement. I'm having to put a lot of work into my lesson planning, my observations, my assignments. I also had to write a dissertation as part of my degree. So while all this was going on, I was also looking online, trying to find myself a job to take after I fully qualified. I remember this being one of the busiest times of my teaching degree, and it was incredibly difficult to know that other people around me were finishing their university courses and I was still going with my final placement. It was not easy, but it is reflective of the job that you're going into. Teaching is a demanding job, and while you will get better at it, it is reflective in the course that you study, what you're going to end up with workload-wise. I did find that most people I went to university with, that I was on the course with, managed to find work straight after finishing, as long as they qualified and got their QTS. I sent my application out to lots of different schools. I didn't focus on the area, I didn't focus too much on the year group I wanted to teach, and I did find a job. I really hope that if you're thinking of becoming a teacher or you've put your application out there, that this video has helped you even just a little bit. If anyone has any questions about the seminars that I took, the structure of the university school day, or perhaps about the placements that I took while learning to become a teacher, please send a comment down below and I will try my best to explain exactly what my experience did for me and what I can remember about the course. Please remember that the journey for you is going to be long and difficult, but it's also going to be exciting, and you're going to be learning skills that you can put into place as soon as you get that first teaching job. If any other teachers are watching this, hi! How did you find your experience? Was it similar to mine? Were your placements completely different? Did you perhaps end up working in a school on your final placement that you then got employment with after? I'd be interested to find out if anyone had a completely different experience to me at university studying teaching. Thank you for watching!